I love days like this. I wait for them in my career. When I first began in design, I obviously had very basic priorities. The first priority was transference. The ability of being able to take this knowledge and to be able to offer this knowledge to somebody else and they could get it. And it was clear to me that it could be transferred. It was clear to me that I could train people to look at charts, that I could train people to teach people, to train people to look at charts, and so forth and so on. I spent the first 7 years of my process laying out a very basic, detailed foundation to various aspects of the surface, that is the body graph, the differentiation, the characteristics. And obviously during that time, because I was dealing with something that was mechanical and supposedly, at least according to the way that I was presenting it, was that it was a matrix to understand the nature of being, that there were all kinds of people. There's a funny sound.
Yes.
The hunt for the funny sound. Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. Some demon. Hello? Is it? Anyway, okay. There were obviously many people. I met a lot of people who were ill. I met a lot of people who were psychologically ill. I met a lot of people who were physically ill. I want to tell you, if you ever have a revelation and you have to bring new knowledge into the world, prepare yourself for the fact that most of the people you meet at the beginning are really fucked up. They have serious problems, and you tend to be the last hope. And through that process, there were people that I met who were very interested in healing. Martin over there, who I met 12 years ago, who bought the very first human design book, was somebody with a natural homeopath training. And obviously right from the beginning, there were questions that were there about, what does this relate to human health and how does this work with human health? Over the years, there have been certain people that I have worked with at this angle. And yet it was a problem for me. And it was a problem for me because basically what I was doing was that I was talking about not self-illnesses and not self-cures for not self-healers. And as many people have witnessed over all of the years that I've been involved in design, I've actually given very little time, my time and my teaching time, to these healing subjects. I've left that in the hands of students of mine where that has been a fundamental interest of theirs. But the fact is that for me, this is not what healing was really about. That healing was something else. That healing for me was simply the byproduct of the not-self. And that health, or the basic health of the vehicle, is something that was rooted deep within us, that each and every one of us have a very, very specific health pathway in life. And yet this health pathway that would provide us with both the ability to be able to maintain a healthy immune system and the ability to be able to develop correctly, physically, and yet all of that was dependent on being correct. That is, what I can really teach you about the way human beings are designed to be healthy is only of value if you're correct. It's only of value if you're living out your design. It was a moot point for me in my process from the beginning. I wasn't dealing with people who were correct. I wasn't dealing with people that lived according to their nature. I still don't deal with a lot of that. Fortunately for me, there's a lot more. But the reality is that this knowledge has many more applications in the engineering of well-being and many more applications in terms of the children of those of us who truly understand this, who can pass this knowledge along so that we have children that grow up and children that are raised as themselves, then what I'm going to show you today is deeply, deeply revolutionary. Nobody truly has ever seen this before. Nobody has ever been able to understand the infrastructure of our well-being in this way before. But I want you to see that for me as a fifth line being, I recognize that this is not one of those great practical courses that I'm teaching. It isn't. It isn't. I'm doing my ongoing job, which is to make sure that knowledge that I was given, that my life and career has shown me is of deep value, that I complete doing my work and I make sure I get all this knowledge out. So I want you to understand that. This is a different perspective on the nature of what it is to be a healthy human being. The body graph in human design, what you're looking at is genetic differentiation. You're just looking at what makes us different. What makes us different is the surface. I mean, it's the surface. Everything you're looking at in the human design system is limited to where you can get to in terms of a line. The line is the bottom line. This is not a human design course. It's a Global Incarnation Index course. And everything about the Global Incarnation Index is about the nature of the substructure of the line. It is one thing to know the surface, and to know the surface through the gate and a line. But truly, if you do not know the color, then you cannot even imagine the psychology of what's there on the surface. Because after all, the color is the underlying motivation, and it's the underlying motivation that drives every single aspect that appears on the surface. And when we're dealing with this relationship between the line and the color, this is not something that we have an easy access to, yet it's there. But it's essential to understand something, that beneath the motivational psychology of the color is the whole underlying mechanism of how that operates in a healthy way, how it can operate in a healthy way. And these are tones. And there is no way that any human being can intuit their tone. You can't. This is much more like an X-ray. You know, it's not like you can see your heart or you can see your skeleton. You know, this is a way of looking beneath the surface. There is no direct relationship between the line, which is the bottom level of our receptive consciousness, and the tone. They have no relationship to each other. This is the first thing. It's why human beings don't know naturally how to be healthy. And they don't. They don't know naturally how to be healthy. They're not connected directly to the health mechanism in terms of the way their consciousness works. And I want you to understand that it's not simply about the health mechanism for the whole vehicle. Every activation has a color and has a tone. And there is an underlying mechanism that will allow that surface aspect to come out in a healthy way. And yet each of those aspects do not have contact with that tone. It was my hope when I first began teaching index that people would grasp how helpless and choiceless we are. And when you get to tone, you have no other choice but to accept choicelessness. It's not like anybody on the surface can consciously understand intuitively what the true source of ill-being is. And we're very good at symptoms. We're very good when it comes to the surface. When it comes to the surface, we've learned to track down. This is about giving everybody an opportunity to understand how each of these underlying mechanisms work. How does a line come out in a healthy way? How does a profile live in a healthy way? And not only that, as you'll see by the time we get to tomorrow, is that you can do something about it. In other words, you can help beings once you understand their pathway. And you can help them in the holistic sense. In other words, you can strengthen aspects of their specific pathway in order to make sure that they stay healthy, that it comes out healthy. I really hope that you're going to enjoy being able to see the potential in this. But I want you to get away from being on the surface now. I'd like you for the next couple of days, regardless of your background or your skills, to assume that you truly know nothing about well-being. That will be quite helpful, so that we can start fresh together and we can look at what well-being can really be. And you know, between you and me, it's clear to me that this will be used for engineering. It will be used for creating healthy lives, and healthy lives in diversity, much more than it'll ever be used therapeutically to help people. However, there are certain things in this that can have practical application, particularly when you're dealing with people in human design that have entered into the experiment and are really in the process of deconditioning. Most of you, when you look at the illustration here, you think you're looking at a body graph, the triangle of the body graph. Well, it's not. This is a symbol, tones. And if you look over there, in that illustration, very colorful, very interesting little illustration, that illustration contains within it all of the substructure of a line. All of the substructure of the line. So, for example, what you're looking at here is a square. You don't see what's hidden in between. That's the point in the middle. That square, that is the 5 bases, including the center. So that's where the bases begin. And from the bases we have tones. And the tone is a triangle, because the tones actually work in 3 binaries. 1, 2, 3. And then outside of that is that you have the color. And you have a hexagon. So what you're looking at here is that you're looking at the levels, of the substructure building upward. From the base, then the tone, and around the tone the color, and then ultimately that's going to fit into a line, and ultimately the gate, and ultimately in the wheel. In other words, you begin to see the actual physical progression in the actual dynamics. So that symbol over there, that symbol contains the entire infrastructure and in essence gives us all of the potential pathways. And something to keep in mind, because we're going to talk a lot about pathways. As a matter of fact, I'm only going to introduce one specific set of pathways to you because I don't have time to do thousands. I mean, I will leave that in your good hands. However, it's very important to see there is this, it's a thing, eh? I mean, it's physical. It's not just a theory. This is a physical structure. So this is the interrelationship in that physical structure. So when we're looking at this triangle, I want you to recognize we're no longer in human design. You know, that open triangle, that's a symbol of what tone is, and it's where our focus is going to begin. It's going to begin on these 3 binaries. Pathways is a nice term, but the term that you're going to see that I will use is chain. And we're going to be talking about chains. The barrier, the boundary that means the most to us is the boundary between tone and color. I mean, this is the boundary that means the most to us. You see, at the tone level, everything is physical. Everything is physical. And the moment that you get to the color level is both physical and has psychological influence. It's quite different. And it is the way in which the psychology, if I can use that terminology, the way in which the psychology of a specific line and gate comes out. This boundary is an essential boundary. It's one of the most mysterious boundaries that we have. It's not like what happens with the color to the line. Anybody that has any color understanding knows that that all makes sense. It's very easy. But this movement from the tone to the color, this is something else. This has the same quality for me as the gates in the throat that meet the ajna. This metamorphic capacity. You know, this incredible gift in the 62 or the 56 or the 23 to be able to transform what is conceptual into something that can be physically articulated. A total transference in that sense. A great mystery in how we do that. It's a mystery. It's just a miracle in many ways. If you really understand what's taking place, if you really understand that what you see becomes concretized language, what it takes to go from one to the other is really something. So when you're dealing with this boundary between tone and color, what holds them together, it's not because they're on the same path. They're chained to each other. These are chains. They're locked in. There are special locked-in configurations. In other words, for me, they're kind of like specialized osmotic gateways. There is a special way in which the tone hooks the color. I mean, hooks it in the sense that the color is out of the tone. I mean, the color is only going to be a quality because of what the tone is. And they're locked together in a chain. And it's the chain that holds them together. One more thing to understand before we enter into this. And this is to understand the relationships that we call harmonies. You know, when we're dealing with line structure, obviously we're dealing with harmonies. And most of us spend our time dealing with harmonies or resonance or dissonance as it exists within the surface. That is how one line is meeting another line and so forth. What's very important to understand, and this is something that those of you that have taken color courses with me know, is that harmonies operate between color and line. So, for example, if you have a first line, you have a first color, well, you know the motivation is going to be fear. I mean, you know what the underlying motivation is going to be. And you know that because you know that you're going to have a resonance or you're going to have a harmony, and you're going to be able to see the way the motivation operates in relationship to the line. In other words, it allows you to be able to see the influence of one over the other. The same thing is true for the relationship between tone and color. Now, this is very important. Tone and color have a harmonic, resonance, dissonance relationship, and this is very important for us. In other words, we're going to be able to see the way in which tone impacts color. What's important to recognize, though, is that there is no relationship between the tone that you have and the line that you have directly. So, for example, if you have a 6 line and you have a 6 tone, it does not mean at all that they're in resonance, because they don't connect to each other that way. We do not connect to the tonal level. We only get to the tone through the color. So it's very important to see that what we're looking at, and this is the first step in what I hope to be many, many insights for you and things to ponder, is that really to understand that there's no direct connection between the way we're designed to be healthy and the way in which we live. But there's a direct connection between the way we're designed to be healthy and our psychology. Very important. And it's our psychology that impacts the way that we live. It is the color that impacts the way in which we live out the surface. But the color only does that based on the infrastructure it's given from the tone. But again, no direct relationship between the two. None. None. I want you to recognize what that actually means. It means that as long as we're dealing with people on the surface, and I'm not referring to people in human design, I'm just referring to the world in general, you're not healing anybody. I mean, you're not healing anybody. You know, the best that you can do is try to reach the color level, try to reach the underlying motivation. But the fact is that unless you're operating correctly from the surface, there is no way in which you're really going to get to the source. There's no way in which the source of the way in which you're supposed to operate correctly is going to be allowed to operate correctly. All the distortion in the human vehicle takes place at the gate and line level. I mean, all of the distortion. And the moment that you break these chains, boy, do you pay a price. All right, so let's begin our process by looking at the tones. And let's begin with something very obvious here about the nature of this triple binary. This triple binary is deeply related to what we call awareness centers. And it's very important to see something about our primary health system, is that we have three kinds of health systems. It's not just one. In other words, from the point of view of health and well-being, there are three kinds of people only. Now, we have subtleties of that, as you'll see. But what I mean by that is that there's three types of illnesses with, three different kinds of areas of lack of well-being, or three kinds of distinct ways we can be healthy. And they're very different. And the problems that arise will be very different. They're simply different from each other. As different from each other, I'm an old Star Trek fan. And I can remember them meeting a bunch of rocks that turned out to be alive. And one of the rocks had been chipped and it was suffering. And Bones, the doctor, mixed up some cement and covered it over the cracked rock. And the rock was very grateful and happy to have had such a wise doctor. We do have very, very different ways of both being healthy and being healed. They're different. They're different. So one of the guidelines for you in terms of your knowledge in design is that you can begin to funnel this into these three different areas of awareness. And these three different areas of awareness in terms of what they relate to in terms of the biology. In other words, I want you to think of these areas of awareness and recognize that we have splenic health as a theme. We have people who have ajna health as a theme. And we have people who have solar plex health as a theme. And you do not have it multiple. And it isn't going to look like your design on the surface. There's nothing to do with that. This is an underlying structure. And what it says to us is that if you're somebody who has a splenic problem and you're being healed by an ajna doctor, you're fucked. Because they have no idea. Because their whole concept of what's not healthy, how to fix it, is all based on being an ajna binary and not being a splenic binary. In other words, it's like that we have three species at work here. It's that distinct. I really want you to grasp that. It's really distinct. And of course, if you look at many traditions, you'll see that this stream of three is something that is floating around in all the old medical traditions. It's a very, very deep wisdom. And it's something to understand that here we're actually going to be able to see the concretized platform of each of these processes. And what you're going to see is that the chains that arise out of each operate so differently. When you're looking at the splenic binary here, and you're looking at the fact that it is about insecurity, it's about uncertainty, that these themes of the spleen, when you look at what the spleen is, your basic immune system, all the things that you can see in the spleen, this is one process only. If you go to the surface of human design, everybody thinks that the spleen is the health center for everybody. Well, it's not. It's not. You see, you can be designed to be an emotionally healthy person and live in a world where you're conditioned to deal with health from a splenic perspective. And it's not for you. It's not for you. It's like telling an emotional person to cool down when you're splenic. That's not helping them. They cool down when they cool down, and only when they cool down. You don't want to sedate them. So the first thing to recognize, the first thing to see, is that we're dealing with three different, distinct processes, each of which is a binary. And we're going to see how those binaries work as well. Thing for me, because I love simple things. It's the greatest treat to be able to see complexity simply. when you look at these three things, first of all, understand something about tones. Tones is sensory. It's rooted in our senses. And when you're looking at these three different areas, let me tell you about the splenic person, and let me tell you about the quantum of the splenic person. You know there's something wrong with somebody who operates in a splenic chain when they don't smell good. And they don't smell well. In other words, it's a two-way street. And it's one of the things to understand is that all beings that operate out of the splenic chain, that the only way in which you can consciously, in the now, deal with them as a patient is if you have a collected representation of their aroma. You know how you take samples of people, you know when they come in, you take a urine sample, you take a whatever. This is a smell sample. It's a smell sample because you see, when you know what their consistent aroma is, any fluctuation in that consistent aroma is immediately going to pinpoint a problem. And it's not about smelling good or bad, you know what I mean. It is about the differentiation from what their right smell should be. It's also about their ability to smell. If you've come out of a splenic chain and as you go through your process, you notice that you don't smell things as well and so forth and so on, you've got real deep physical problems. Now that isn't true if you're solar plex. It isn't true if you're ajna. It isn't. They're very, very different. I'm so vehemently against generalization. And to see when it comes to our health, to really understand, whoa. Different strokes for different folks. This is splenic. And keep in mind as we go through this, that the splenic theme is all about smell. And it's going to show us a certain chain and a certain way to see how we can understand that, work with it, be able to deal with it in terms of seeing symptoms and so forth and so on, and then ultimately to be able to provide therapies for it. But to recognize that it's a segment of the population. And of course, remembering how hard it is to get good time and to know what people's tones are. Remember the lack of practicality in much of this. You have to take that into consideration. But here, in this chain, it's all about smell. In the center, when we come to the ajna binary, what we're dealing with is vision. Vision. And it's one of the things that's so interesting about this is that if you're dealing with the ajna binary, it's how somebody looks that will tell you their well-being. It's how they look. Not only how they look, but you know that their problems are becoming severe when they begin to have diminished capacity with their vision. They have vision problems. They don't see properly. These kinds of things that are coming out of the inside. But it's one of the most interesting things in terms of being able to recognize beings on this chain. Is that one of the things that distinguishes them is that they show their problems physically. You see it. But you have to know how to see it. That's something else. But this is something that is very, very visual. It's not about smell. It doesn't matter how they smell. It matters what they look like. And it isn't about looking at them and saying, oh, you don't look well today. I'm not talking about that kind of looking. It is the ability to be able to see that there is something not quite right with them. And it doesn't mean they look pale or sickly. And again, this goes back to, if you're going to work with these in this kind of healing system, you really have to know people well. In other words, you need to have a regular connection with them in order to be able to establish these fluctuations or find out ways to do that. Again, this will open up a whole different area of the way in which we look at people and deal with them. But, again, you're going to see that if you're dealing with somebody that's on a visual chain, the kinds of things you can do for them and to make them healthier is very different than somebody who's on a splenic chain. Very different. That is, at the same time that their vision would diminish, somebody who has this sight, because please let me explain, it's not the way you would normally look at somebody. Somebody who has this kind of sight and you can look at them would be able to see right away that there's something happening, because they have certain markers they can look at. We'll talk about the markers as we get to the chains. I'd like you to keep in mind that there is a vast mutation that's taking place in the solar plex center. And one of the most interesting things for me is that through my knowledge of the PHS, I really have an insight into one of the few ways that we'll actually be able to identify these children when they're born. And it all comes back to understanding the chain that operates out of the solar plex, because the chain out of the solar plex is the skin. Everything's in the skin, and you see everything in the skin. And it's not just the look of the skin, it's the feel of the skin, it's the touch of the skin. And the one thing that I do know is that when these children are born, their skin is going to be very different than anything we've ever touched as humans. There's a quality to their skin that will be different. But this is one of the most fascinating areas for me in terms of PHS, because I'm very much absorbed in watching this mutation take place and following this mutation, and to really see clearly that when we're dealing with well-being, we have these three very different worlds. The world of the nose is so different than the world of the skin. It's so different from the world of vision, which is the Maya and illusion. These are very, very different kinds of beings with different kinds of physical groundings in this life. But in terms of being able to work with the chains out of the solar plex, all of that is about understanding the skin. And one of the things that you'll be able to note is that, the various pseudosciences and pseudo-health systems that have existed for millennium, shamans and witch doctors and this and that. If you begin to really look at these three different areas, you'll see that there are traditions for each. It's like a phrenologist, somebody who measures the bumps on your head. They're into skin analysis. The others are the ones that look at you, and all they have to do is see you, and they tell you right away, that your aunt poisoned you when you were 4. Or the shaman that come around and they sniff all over your body, and then they magically stick their hand inside and pull out some tumor. I mean, we have these things. And what I want to do is I want to concretize this for you. I want to show you the mechanical structure of each of these, and for you to see that when our children come into the world, and they come into the world being given the opportunity to live their life as themselves, that we're going to be able to measure their well-being through the chain that they're on. And we're going to be able to look after them that way. You smell your child every day. You look at your child every day. You touch your child every day. It's one of the things to understand about this. It's the magic of this. Is that the moment that you have this kind of a grounding, you can tell long before there's a symptom, long before there's even a serious problem. You can tell right away something's going wrong, and what we're going to see is that we can do something about it. In other words, we can reinforce what is there in the chain and make sure that that child stays with a healthy pattern. But all of that is contingent on them living out who they are. And basically it's contingent on them making decisions as themselves. And the moment we have anyone who's in that process, for all of you who have reached, there are those of you in this room, who have reached beyond the 7-year process, this is something to really grasp if you have accurate time. This is something to really see that here lies a whole new way of being able to maintain the deepest security. Remember, all first anythings tell you the truth. The first tone tells you what tones are all about. It's about being secure in your vehicle. If your vehicle is not well, life is a pain. After all, we're here on the form, in the form world. That there is nothing worse than being debilitated in the vehicle. That it takes away one's attention and one's energy and all kinds of things. That it gives one a sense that being in this world is such a difficult ordeal, and that it's something that is physically damaging. And of course, the moment that you're operating correctly, and the moment that there is somebody in your life who understands how to keep an eye on you, then you have a health guide in your life that's just extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Oh, it can't get rid of the genetic dysfunctions that mutation can bring that are there in the vehicle from the time of conception. Genetic inheritances, whatever. However, even given that the vehicle will operate as correctly as it can as itself, and given an understanding of its pathway, even very debilitating genetic problems can be ameliorated to some degree. I'm not saying they're going to be healed or removed. I'm just saying that it's going to be easier for these people to maintain relative well-being despite whatever the affliction happens to be. So it's very important for us to see that this is the future of the way in which we're going to categorize children as they come in. And the healer that can turn to the parent and say, your child is coming in on a splenic chain. So I want you to understand how this works for you. You know how you love to smell your baby? Everybody loves babies. I mean, the saddest thing is when your baby stops smelling so good and they start shitting, and it's wonderful, right? They really smell delicious. And at the same time, you get to see that, if you can point them in the right direction, if you can give them guidelines how to interpret and watch that. Remember, we have a whole new health guideline system that has to come out of this in order to be able to guide people into this simple, holistic way of keeping themselves and their children healthy. It's very important to understand that it doesn't matter what the surface design looks like. If you want to find out what your primary health system chain is, you need to know the tone of your design, Sun Earth. And the tone of your design, Sun Earth, gives you your overall PHS system chain. Unconscious. No personality. It has nothing to do with the personality. So if you want to find out, now one of the things that I will tell you is that by the end of this year, there will be a PHS program, software, that will allow you to automatically calculate anybody's chain. Because as you will see, these chains are complex because they go from tone to color to line. And obviously we have a lot of variations of what that chain can look like based on 6 and so forth and so on, and then the 384 lines and all of that stuff. So the first thing to understand is that to be able to note what your specific chain is, that this comes from the design Sun Earth tone. And that design Sun Earth tone, they're going to be the same, the number. That's going to give you the actual PHS, and that we will have programming that will help you to be able to mark these chains. First of all, I want to show you what a chain looks like so that you have a sense of it. And then I'm going to today take you through chain variations so that you can see the different ways in which they actually function. So here is the beginning of this process of being able to show you the chain structure. Now the first thing you're going to notice is, and as you'll see when we get into the chains, we're only going to focus on the chain itself. Here I'm giving you a general perspective of all the possibilities that are there in the chain. You have the 3 binaries here that are tonal. You have the 6 colors above. And then from the 6 colors, you go to the 6 lines. So you can see that there are all the possible combinations that are there in this interconnectivity. So this is the first thing to recognize about the chain grouping. The way you're going to read the chain, you're going to read the chain from the bottom up. You're going to read it from the tone to the color to the base. Now the example that I've given here is moving from the 3rd tone, which is going to be in the Ajna binary, moving to the 2nd color, which happens to be hope, and then getting to the line, which happens to be the 4th line at the line level, and this is the line of externalization. In other words, we have a chain here that is an action, hope, externalization chain. You know by now, most of you, because most of you have a deep background in design, you know that everything in design is a binary. And one of the most interesting things is the different way in which the binary in the line structure is different from the binary in the tonal structure. Now, they are basically mirrors of each other that can only be unified at the color level. Now, let me explain how this works because it's really mathematically fascinating. When you're looking at the line structure, any hexagram can be seen as three binaries. And in seeing them as three binaries, understanding thematically that when you're looking at the first line, what you're looking at is receptivity, and the second line's creative. In other words, it's yin-yang thematically. It doesn't mean what it is in actuality. Okay, in other words, it's, for example, first lines are receptive in nature. All first lines, all third lines, all fifth lines are receptive in nature. Okay, but when you're looking at the second line and the fourth line and the sixth line, they're creative in nature. In other words, a yin-yang polarity. Okay? When you're looking at tone, it's all reversed. The first line is active and the second line is passive. The third line is active, the fourth line is passive. The fifth line is active, the fifth tone is active, the sixth tone is passive. In other words, it's very important to see something. This is an essential understanding of why line and tone don't have a relationship. They don't. Their basic structure is a mirror. So if you're dealing with the very first tone, you're dealing with something that's active. But when you're dealing with the very first line, you're dealing with something that's receptive. And the bridge is here in the color. That's why you can go from line to color and you can see relationships. And you can go from color to tone and see relationships. But you cannot relate the two together. That's why we're blocked off from the tonal level. Because the tonal level is like the anti-particle, the anti-neutrino, the anti-whatever you want to call it. You know, the whole idea that there are, you know, that there is an anti-universe. You know, and if you cross that line, if you touch it, you know, everything explodes. And so the thing to understand is that color becomes the medium. It's the medium between the tonal level, the structural sensory level, and how it can actually come out in the life at the line level.